Before we begin, thank you very much to Dylan B for joining the Patreon campaign over at patreon.com/TJOmega. The help is always appreciated. It allows me to continue doing this, and it's the reason why the daily video thing is almost a year long now. Oh my god. I think the math says I have done almost 400 videos in the last year. That's insane. That's insane. But it's thanks to you guys. It's your support. It's your encouragement, your love, your likes, your comments, your everything that keeps me doing this. So thank you guys. Thank you so much. So, it's news roundup time. It's not a terribly large news week, but there are some things in here that are just particularly large that we do need to talk about. So I don't think it's going to be a terribly long one. As I say this, as whenever I say that, the video goes like half an hour. But there are a few particular things I do want to talk about, so we're going to do this as a news roundup rather than break it up into a whole bunch of just random videos, especially because of the nature of some of them, like the one we're looking at right now. So, at TF Nation, Jim Sorsen and Chris McFeely presented the original draft of Transformers the movie, which we had never gotten access to before. We had bits and pieces and things that like Flint Dille kind of remembered, but this is like the actual script, everything included, except for like one page that was lost, that they made note of. But this was a pretty epic rundown of the original movie, complete with artwork of like, maybe not what they originally were going to design the characters as, but like just visual example of what would have been closer to the original concept. So that was really cool. We got to find out about characters that never happened, that never occurred, that didn't exist in the original, in the final version of the script. For instance, like, I'm just gonna go over some of my favorite bits here, because like, Daniel does exist in the movie. He is that kid appeal, like reference point for the kids watching the movie. But this movie wasn't set in the year 2005. They didn't know when exactly the movie was set. It's an undescript amount of time. So that instead of having Spike and Carly as parents, they decided to create two completely new characters who were confidants of the Autobots, and they were Daniel's parents. So two humans that we never saw since. There's also a new Autobot named Mentalar, who is a science robot, and someone who basically got replaced by Perceptor in the final movie, if we're playing this out. So among other details that were a little bit different from the original. So the sweeps were originally just a sweeping party. It was what the script referred to them as, a sweeping party. In this version, they were reimagined as drones of the sweeps. Eventually, they kind of evolved into their own characters in the final script. So I don't know if this was supposed to be just Decepticons looking around for Autobots, or if these were just like drones that were similar to the sweeps. It's not exactly descript. It is interesting to note the Decepticons in this movie were actually Unicron charged, or actually charged up by the entity. Like it was the original Decepticons, but like powered up with like energy scales from what would eventually be revealed as Unicron. So actually, which means Starscream survived this take of the movie. Actually, a lot of the original Autobots do survive the movie. The script specifically does not mention like past characters dying. More often than not, they make it through their scrapes. The ones who died in the script actually were Blur, Ultra Magnus, and Mentalar. Yeah, so the three of the new characters ended up dying before the end of the movie, which is probably not what Hasbro would want out of characters they're trying to sell toys of, There was no Matrix of Leadership. Instead, the spirit of Optimus Prime became part of Magnus, who then became Ultra Magnus, and was subsequently ripped out and bottled by Galvatron like you would a fairy in Legend of Zelda. It's a bizarre concept. Also, no Rodimus Prime. Hot Rod does take up some sort of leadership, but he's not a Prime. He is not like evolved into a Prime. And Cybertron gets destroyed. Unicron destroys Cybertron, and then Earth was going to be his target. This is just some of the insanity of the original movie script that was scrapped for being too all over the place and convoluted. There is a lot going on. So rather than ape Chris's content, I'm going to say just go to his Twitter account and take a look. It's a fascinating read, and the visuals are actually really, really cool too, as a really fun what-if scenario. It's worth knowing if you are a Transformers historian or buff in any way. The other big news that came out this week was there's an article on Bloomberg that says that Hasbro is reevaluating its entertainment plans. So for those not keeping up on the business side of Hasbro, they bought a company called E1, which was going to be their television and movie production side of things. You know, the previous CEO of Hasbro, Goldner, saw what Paramount was doing with the movies and thought to themselves, why aren't we just doing this directly and cutting out the middleman? So that was what Goldner was trying to accomplish. After the purchase of this production company, everything goes south because that's when the pandemic hits. Goldner passes away. A lot of things go wrong for Hasbro in this department. So, yeah, now they're reevaluating things. So, and this is also coming at a time when their agreement with Paramount Pictures is going to end at the end of the year. That's a lot. That's a lot going wrong at the same time, all right? That's just a lot. The CEO of E1's also stepping down at the end of the year, too. So it's not looking good for the production side of Hasbro. And this does relate to Hasbro producing their own properties as entertainment, which would have consequences on Transformers, Power Rangers. Like what's going to happen with Power Rangers TV-wise is way up in the air right now. A lot of this will potentially have repercussions on what we enjoy out of Transformers. Just like on the Paramount side of things, because Goldner also sat on the board of Paramount. So when he passed away, that link between Hasbro and Paramount dissolved. And obviously, Paramount, loves the money that Transformer movies bring in. I'm sure they would want to continue that, but under what deal, what arrangement? That's a much different discussion. So it's a really weird time. So like all the stuff that's currently in production, like Rise of the Beast, that was supposed to come out this year, it's coming out next year. That will all still happen, even if the deal expires, because it's already too far out. But new projects, like they talked about going back to the original movies and finishing that saga. They talked about an animated movie on Cybertron. Those are in doubt now. Those are not for sure happening. They also talked about a Beast Wars solo movie. That is in doubt now if that deal doesn't get renewed. So who knows? All of this is complete chaos. There's actually potential that Hasbro might be selling off properties or extensions of its company that it no longer finds need for or is more trouble than it's worth. I don't think they're going to sell. Obviously, that has nothing to do with Power Rangers and Transformers. They're going to retain those for forever. But everything else, it's going to be really chaotic looking at Hasbro and what's going to be going down as early as next year. Whew. All right. So it's not directly Transformer related, but it's a big deal. Trust me. I know there's a lot of business jargon in here, but that is a big deal. What's going on there? All right. Let's actually talk directly Transformer related thing. Just a quick mention: Transformers: The Fall of Cybertron is officially 10 years old. The series that High Moon Studio created, I think it's probably the best depiction that we ever got of a pre-Earth Cybertronian war. The visuals are gritty. It looks like everything is heavily entrenched and basically like a constant running dumpster fire rolling down a hill. That's what Cybertron looks like in these games. So you are literally in this desperate situation at the point where you can kind of see where this is going to lead up to them having to abandon the planet. the games themselves were good. The visuals I thought were really good. Maybe a little bit too dark at times, but like I really miss when Transformers had this series and could actually prove that it was worthy as a video game franchise. Because the one thing that Hasbro has failed to produce, toys, of course, fantastic. Comic books have been really good at times. And then, of course, movies and cartoons. Transformers has proven itself in all these different entertainment markets, but video games is just the toughest nut for them to crack. And I'm not entirely sure what it's going to take for them to actually produce something that is going to be as well remembered as like some of the cartoons and movies are. I am legitimately curious at this point when we're getting another really good Transformer game. We got Devastation. That was a fantastic game that not enough people gave their time and attention to. Yeah, and that's about it. All we've got right now are mobile games. So, I'm waiting for the next major one that really takes advantage of the franchise rather than just milking the name Bumblebee for microtransactions. I would much rather just see like a full PC or console game that really blows out the franchise and like uses the Transformers universe appropriately, because it lends itself to some really fun gameplay styles that just never really occurs. And that's kind of curious why one of the biggest franchises in the world cannot seem to break into video games properly. Well, it's a nut to crack at a later date, but yeah, just to realize that like it's been a long time since High Moon had a turn at Transformers. It also sucks that both the High Moon games and Devastation are completely unavailable. As good as they are, you have to go buy physical copies and hope those still work. There is no way of actually buying the games digitally, which is a real shame. All right, let's move on to some actual toy news. How about that? So, the Rise of the Beast Smash Changers Optimus Prime is nominated for a Toy of the Year award, which is kind of presumptuous when, we've still got about 4.5 months left in the year. It's also presumptuous because most of the good toys drop around October, November, around Christmas, just before Christmas time. So, and it's interesting. I'm only highlighting this because I find it interesting what the mass media, what mass audience thinks is a really good toy compared to what you and I watching, us collectors, consider a good toy. There's stuff out of like Studio Series and Legacy that we would consider really, really good toys. I would consider, like Kingdom or Legacy Galvatron to be a really good toy. I consider Motormaster to be a really good toy. But not the Smash Changer Optimus Prime. Now, when you're looking at the general public, and the authorities behind this, the Toy Awards, that whole organization, they look at very different things than we do. They look at how playable it is, how energetic and colorful and enjoyable it would be for a kid. They look at how well it functions, how well it's gonna handle itself, and how just exciting it would be for a kid to play with, rather than high articulation, high accuracy to an 80s cartoon. It's a very different standard, and I think it's a fascinating standard to just observe objectively. So in some realms where you and I would never pull this toy as a toy of the year, it might be the toy of the year of the entire industry. Who knows? On to toys that we can actually debate. Lanky Kong got a toy. So this is Authentics Titan Changer Optimus Primal. So the Titan Changers, those big 11-inch figures you probably see at like Walgreens or something. One of those auxiliary market kind of releases, is getting its own Optimus Primal toy, which means it's going to be this super simplistic transformation to get it from beast to robot. Optimus Primal doesn't really have that complex a transformation to begin with, so I'm actually kind of curious what this is going to do to get into gorilla mode. There's no shot of the gorilla mode, by the way. this is all that we have. But it's nice to know that at the very least, Optimus Primal and some of those Beast Wars characters are entering into the larger Transformer spectrum again. Getting toys that are like outside just the usual generations and into like this like evergreen toy line, essentially, that they could just make forever, whenever. So I'm kind of curious what it's going to look like. It's not a toy I'm ever going to be interested in, but it's going to be amusing. Iconic Heroes is doing a card holder for Soundwave, and what's weird about it is Golden Lagoon based, which I think basically just means they can just make it, fancy gold color. But it is a card holder where you can actually open up Soundwave's chest compartment, and it stores your business cards. And me, as a manager of a toy store, am like actually looking at this in a way that most are not, because like, oh, this is actually going to be very thematic and appropriate to actually have on the counter. It's a weird item. It's a weird item. Pre-orders just went live, so we can actually can I pop over and see how much that's going to be? No, card holder available now. $60. $60 before shipping. All right, that's not terrible. All right, so yeah, and it's an actually like very thematic and appropriate holder. No. It reminds me of like the old Hard Hero statues, those busts from the waist up that they used to make. I know, and in a weird way, I might actually get that, or I might convince the boss that we need that. All right, more crossover stuff. So obviously, this is not a Transformer logo. These are a company called Crossover Socks, which is actually, as you can see, they make these like high print level socks based on your favorite pop culture characters. And this is coming to Transformers. So if you ever wanted to stick your foot inside Optimus Prime, seek help. But also, you will have an option soon. And it will be a nice, fluffy, comfy, warm option. We have no images of what it's going to be. It's just socks. Socks are on the way. All right, let's look into actual toys, because we've had a few reveals and we've had a few closer looks. Nothing brand new, but at the very least, we got some nicer shots of them. So we have all the stock images for Transformers, the movie, Decepticon Rumble, blue. So we actually have confirmation. It is specifically marked Blue Rumble. And it is the Blue Rumble because it is the 86 movie where, like specifically the 86 movie Rumble. So we are doing cartoon accurate everything, meaning yes, he was called Rumble in the cartoon. All right. So he looks good. Like, considering he is going to be pretty small for a core class, he's just going to get by on his accessory count. He does look good. And it's nice to know that, like, they got this level of detail and extra engineering in something that is still going to be able to fit inside Blaster or Soundwave. It's actually a really, really impressive job. And yeah, he looks fine. I like how he looks. I like the extra paint detail going on. He actually does have a load of paint for this. I think that's where some of that extra budget went to account for his size. It is definitely one of those toys that is going to be stolen right out of the box, just like Studio Series Ravage is right now. There's going to be a lot of people who just want the figure. They're not going to care about the accessories. They're just going to go, ooh, free cassette former. And yeah, expect to see this empty box sitting at your Walmart in the near future. And the designers over on Instagram for Hasbro have gone they've been going pretty hard on reveals and information lately. And this continues into the current waves that just got revealed. Dragon Megatron has some in real life photo shoots. For anyone from Hasbro's design team that may or may not be watching this, please stop trying to make that flame detail work as a club. It's never going to look good. But I think these shots do a lot, both for the people who really are into this toy and looking forward to it, and the people who aren't. Because I think some of these shots make this toy look really, really good. I love this shot of the dragon mode. I think everything looks really, really nice here. I think, It's a little bit lankier than you would prefer it if you grew up with the toy, but animation-wise, he's actually not that far off, so I'm going with that. And I love the articulation in the neck going on here. He looks really cool in his pose. And he actually scales just about perfectly with the Optimal Optimus from Power of the Primes. I wish that toy was better, or else I would have kept it and would have had a nice, like, one-on-one fight between these two ready to go. It's also, like, crazy expensive to get now, so I'm not going to go back and get it again. But, yeah. Cool that it's coming out. The robot mode actually does look really good with the wings splayed out. I think that helps a lot, too. The one where, let's see, where's the shot that really doesn't do it any favors? There's a shot, yeah, and you see the posability of the neck is ridiculous. Yeah, the shot here in the air, this one I don't think is as flattering. In this shot, his wings look way too tiny. You know, and I think that's just nature of the beast, so to speak. There's only so big they can make the wings, but within budget. I'm still really looking forward to this toy. I still think it looks really, really good. All right, for what I'm interested. They also shared a detail about the head sculpt, because people have been kind of weird about the head sculpt on this toy, especially the weird triangle teeth he has, like it's a Sharkticon or something. They sculpted in the original. They showed off the shots of the original prototype sculpt of like all the individual sculpted teeth detail, and it was supposed to look much more like the grimace of the original toy. That's not what we got. So apparently the factory that produced the mold simplified that design in that area, and that's how they decided to do it. I don't like that the factory has a say in altering the sculpt, because it wasn't like it was detailed that was impossible for them to do. They just made it easy. Like, they just simplified it. It felt like, you remember that story that went around where the guy accidentally defaced his super old and famous painting, and then to kind of, he like tried to fix it with like craft paint, and just like really quickly just basically just drew this like really horrific smiley face on it. That's kind of what this feels like. It feels like someone sculpting, it feels like someone making the tooling at the factory went, I don't know how to do this, and just, I don't know, just scribbled over the whole thing. So some of this actually may not be Hasbro's fault, weirdly enough. I'm sure some third-party company is going to make some face upgrade for this toy at some point. So you just pop in a more appropriate head. And that is the nature of the beast. Again, I keep saying that phrase. And let's see. Let's finish it off on one more example. There's a bunch of toy reveals and in-hand shots over from designer Instagrams, but I wanted to show off this one too because I really like the look of this bomb burst. He does look really, really cool for a core class. And I do love how they managed to work. There's a lot of playability in these wings. Aside from these forearm mounted guns they form, as you can see, they also form axes that he can wield around, and they can also form a jetpack. And here's the weird thing to me. The backside of the guns actually has batwing details sculpted and painted in, which is a great touch. But there's no photo of them actually in display in the robot mode, because that's where you want to see him. You want to see the bat wings coming off of him, right? Which is weird. And keep in mind, we actually do have a listing for a core class. Oh my god, I can't even remember his name offhand because it's such an obscure, weird character. But it's the Power Master Bat from Double Dealer. I know you're gonna correct me in the comments. I know you are. That we have a core listing for that figure, and I presume because they're both bats, it's going to be this particular figure. And I get the feeling that they're leaving that like bat wing backpack display as a thing for that version of the figure to prominently feature. Like that's going to be the shot of how it looks, like in the in-package shot, in the detail shots. That's what I'm presuming is going to happen. I feel like they're intentionally not giving us that shot. I'm still kind of amazed at how good this thing looks in the vehicle mode. I don't like that it depends on having the accessories, because if you lose those, you're out your vehicle, just like the original Pretender. But the fact that they got something that looks so much like the shell, it transforming into something that looks exactly like the G1 vehicle, it's pretty impressive. I'm looking forward to more of these tiny Pretenders. And that is going to be our news roundup for the week. And I think, yeah, as predicted, I went way longer than I expected to. That's the nature of the... I need to shut up. I need to shut up. I need a thesaurus. That's what I need. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you for putting up with some repetitiveness and a little bit of long-winded discussion. But there are some interesting things going on in our realm of Transformers that we should probably be aware of. And that is what the news roundup is for. So thank you for watching, and I will see you next time. Guys, I am facing the most powerful enemy any YouTuber can face, the algorithm, and I need your help to defeat him. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and leave a comment. Every time you do, we attack that algorithm and we drive it back until it can no longer defeat this channel. Thank you very much.